O Mary, conceived without sin, pray for us who have recourse to thee. This is my story. It begins in the early 1990s. I was a Novus Ordo Catholic boy, about 19 years old, 20 years old, something like that. I lived in a small town and there was two Catholic churches. The Novus Ordo church, my parish church, and there was this Latin Mass church just down the street. They were the Society of St. Pius X. I was raised in the Novus Ordo, baptized, first confession, first communion, confirmation, all in the Novus Ordo. And during the time when I was around 18, 19, 20, I had friends, so to speak, on the other side of the fence. So I had friends in the Latin Mass, and I had friends at the Novus Ordo Mass. And it became confusing when we would have these religious conversations and debates, and I found early on that I didn't really know my faith. So I started to study more, and when things became difficult, I turned to my local priest, who helped me out a lot. He told me, he said, take whatever literature they have, take whatever literature I offer you, and look at them both with an open mind, honestly reading what it says with no prejudice, and you will come to the conclusion that you're looking for. So that's what I did. I read the books that my traditionalist friends gave me. I read the books that my Novus Ordo friends gave me, especially the priest at the Novus Ordo Mass at that time, a good man. And I put two and two together, and I thought there's something really amiss here. So I ordered a set of books. They came in a 2-volume set, but the most important volume was this one, The Complete Documents of Vatican II. The second set was post-conciliar documents. But this book is very interesting and was pivotal in me deciding on which way I wanted to go. And it starts quite simply, and I'll take photographs of these pages and I'll put them up so that you can read along with me. But I'll just show you the inside of the cover here too. The Vatican Council II, 1992 edition. So I guess it was around 1992 or so when this all started happening. But quite literally on page 1, the Constitution on the Sacred Liturgy. And I've still got all my highlighting and notes and things I made in here as I read through it as a 20-year-old, before the internet was around, and you had to actually read books to figure stuff out. But I started going through the Constitution on the Sacred Liturgy, since it was on page 1 anyways, and you get to Article 36, number 1. The use of the Latin language with due respect to particular law is to be preserved in the Latin rites. Number 2. But since the use of the vernacular, whether in the Mass, the administration of the sacraments, or in other parts of the liturgy, may frequently be of great advantage to the people, a wider use of it may be made of it, especially in readings, directives, and in some prayers and chants. Regulations governing this will be given separately in subsequent chapters. Okay. You read on. Eventually you get to Article 54. A suitable place may be allotted to the vernacular in masses which are celebrated with the people, especially in the readings and the common prayer, and also as local conditions may warrant, in those parts which pertain to the people according to the rules laid down in Article 36 of this Constitution. Nevertheless, care must be taken to ensure that the faithful may also be able to say or sing together in Latin those parts of the ordinary of the Mass which pertain to them. This is where I started thinking. I don't ever remember in my life, up to this point, the use of Latin ever being in the Mass, in the Novus Ordo Mass. I don't recall ever being required to respond in Latin in the modern Mass. So something automatically was triggered in my brain that something wasn't quite right here. There's a little bit of wishy-washiness with the way this council deals with things. It lays down a directive. It says you must do something, and then it follows it with point number 2, but if the bishops feel like doing something else, they can. You must do this, but, you know, if you feel like you don't want to, you don't have to. That's what it kind of started saying. So that's what it started saying to me. So I go back again. Article 36 of this Constitution. I can go back and forth. The use of the Latin language with due respect to particular law is to be preserved in the Latin rites. You have to pay careful attention to the language being used here. Is to be preserved. That's a directive. That's a command. But then it goes on, but since the use of the vernacular, whether in the Mass or blah, 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 blah. Again, Article 54. A suitable place may be allotted to the vernacular in the Masses which are celebrated with the people. Nevertheless, care must be taken to ensure that the faithful may also be able to say or sing together in Latin those parts of the ordinary of the Mass which pertain to them. Now I'm starting to get a little bit of cognitive dissonance. Something isn't right here. I pay attention to the language in which it's written. It's giving me a clear directive saying that care must be taken to ensure that the faithful may also be able to say or sing together Latin. That's a directive. The other things aren't directives. So, since the council is telling me that I must do something, however, if I feel like doing something else, I can, I think I'm going to go with the cut and dried method, and I'm just going to go with what it says I must do. And it says that I must learn to say or sing those parts in Latin. And since I can't do that at the Novus Ordo Church, where can I do it? Catholic Northman, out.